Hi, I'm Fred Topel with Crave Online. Nick, how did you come up with the voice for this character? I think it might be your best voice since Peter Lowe.
Bless your heart. I'm so happy you noticed. You know, voice is one of the tools of film acting. And any chance I can get to play with it, I'm gonna jump on it. I wanted Kyle Miller to be somebody that would, in your mind, be the last person that could rise against this untenable situation that he finds himself and his family in. And so one of the ways to do that was to make the voice just a little bit, he's kind of like a, I say that he's sexually confused. He's someone that you wouldn't expect to defend himself and his family in that situation. So I wanted to play with that. One of the things that I said to Joel when I agreed to do the movie was I'd like to play him with a stutter as well. And we talked about it, but then as we started photography, he kind of talked me out of that. And I take his point. I think it probably worked better without it. But then again, we might be wearing tuxedos later this year if I had a stutter.
Okay. No, let's focus on this specific point, Nick. Why did you think that character had to have a stutter?
I wanted to show that someone that speaks in a way that might be fragile could still surprise you, could still be tough, could still take unexpected chances and risks. And the other way I wanted to confirm that idea is I added a little line where I said to Ben Mendelsohn's character, I go like this, and I say, I'm worth more dead than alive. And what that means is he's not afraid to die. And if you can take me out, maybe I can solve all this in my family, because I am worth more dead than alive. So that was another way of demonstrating that he was not afraid. So I like counterpoint. I think of acting as music, and any kind of new sound with the voice, any kind of surprise I can give you, any counterpoint I can give you to keep you guessing is what I'm going to go for.
Why would you be sexually confused?
I want it because I have friends that you see them in married relationships, and they're obviously heterosexual, but sometimes you look at them and you go, well, are you or are you not? But then they're all the time that I've met these people, they've been like staunch family men who are very aggressive and protective of their families. So I wanted to show that. I wanted to show that he's the last person that you might think could be tough in those circumstances, but he is. Not that being feminine doesn't mean you can't be tough. That's the point, that you can be tough. So I'm trying to break down stereotypes and, I guess, archetypes.
He wanted to seem misjudged by Ben Mendelsohn and the others.
Right, and play a character that is surprising.
Sir?
Hi, Fabian Winter for Latin America. I have a question. Hi, Nick. Francis Ford Coppola was seen right there in the very same chair 2 days ago. So do you keep in touch with that part of the family? And if you could tell a little bit about the story, how you became Nicolas Cage instead of Nicolas Coppola.
Nicolas Cage is who I really am, even though my passport says otherwise. I kind of had to reinvent myself to be able to have the guts to sit here in front of you today. Nicolas Coppola was a very scared little boy, and I had to sort of reinvent who I was going to be to make my dreams come true. As when I was Coppola, it was very hard for me to be taken seriously by my colleagues and also by my casting agents when I would go in on a meeting. And so when I went out on Valley Girl, Martha Coolidge was directing. I was 17, and I changed my name, and nobody had known that I had changed my name. They did not know who I was. And it was immediately like a giant weight had come off my body. And I said, wow, I got this part, and they didn't know I was a Coppola. And then I started believing in myself. Now, that's not to say I'm not proud of my family. I am, and all their accomplishments and what they have done, but I've kind of gone my own direction. You know, that's a pretty personal question.
I do.
Yeah.
Question to the lady here.
Thanks. Hi, Naomi Hawkins from Sunshine Coast Daily in Australia. I know that you guys filmed 8mm together. How did this shoot compare, and did you get together again because of the relationship formed at that time?
We have a terrific rapport. I work well with Joel because we have similar tastes. I like the kinds of movies he makes. I like his interests in the Grand Guignol and horror. He has a style in the directing process where there's a feeling of chaos on the set. And chaos can be very, it can make an actor feel very confident because you can try anything. You can express anything, and you know that Joel will give you a shot at it. He also has one of the most remarkable senses of humor of anybody I've ever worked with, and he keeps everybody very happy and laughing, which is also quite relaxing. And actors have to be relaxed in order to do what we do. It's a high pressure job. There's a lot of tension, and Joel helps you feel comfortable and to be able to dig deep and get to the root of what you're trying to express.
Well, most of the European press that went to the screening came out saying it's a political movie, and of course North American journalists said, "Don't you ever say that." Do you agree that it is a political movie?
Well, I think it's almost impossible, I say almost, to make a movie that's relevant to the times without it having some political element to it, just because it taps into the zeitgeist of what's going on now.
The secret is never to lecture.
Yeah, then you're going around it the wrong way. If you make a message movie, then it becomes that, and then it loses its credibility as a bit of entertainment as well.
Tying what you just said to the physicality of the house itself, you said that both families overreached to try and reach and touch the American dream. There is a little bit of too much wealth in the house, as if he had come from poor background and was always going, let's add one diamond to this, let's add one gold leaf to that, let's add one sparkle to that. But was it that I would assume was deliberate?
I didn't think about it that far back, to be perfectly honest. I saw him as somebody that really enjoyed what he does. I think he enjoys the beauty of a diamond. I think he cares about the rocks. I think he's a great businessman. He's great at his job. But I also think he has a genuine interest in the stones. As case in point, when he says, "Do you know the etymology of the meaning of the word diamond?" You know, I mean, someone would go dig that deep, or even really care about what a Golconda diamond is. And one of my models for the character was Martin Katz, Jeweler to the Stars. You know, I thought he was an interesting choice to explore for Kyle. You know, but he's far more successful than Kyle is. But I think this character really knows about the stones and has an interest in it.
Jim Slotek from the Toronto Sun. You're well known for moving between small independent projects like this and large-scale entertainments. I'm wondering, first of all, if it's true that you are signing on to The Expendables 2?
I haven't really pursued that. I don't know much about it except what I read on the internet. Now, Stallone is somebody that I like, and he's always been very friendly to me over the years, so I would consider it, but I haven't had any formal discussions about it.
How do those two magnitudes of entertainment that you work in. How do you sort of how do they make up you as an actor?
How does it what for me as an actor?
How do they sort of coexist? The large scale action.
Great, they coexist very well. I mean, it's an opportunity to experiment on smaller movies, and then once I find a sound that I like, or a move I like, or a style that I like, I might take a chance with it on a bigger movie. The best example of that was I ripped off Vampire's Kiss to no end when I did Face Off. I was just constantly going back and looking at Vampire's Kiss and coming up with ideas to apply to the Face Off movie. So it's kind of like laboratory. You know, you can, because there's not so much money at stake, you can experiment a little more, and it just keeps it fresh for me. I like to hopscotch between genres and all kinds of movies.
The lady here, front row.
Hi, it's Melanie Mullen with Elle Magazine. Beautiful to see your beautiful blue eyes. The film was shot in Louisiana, and is that your new home, Nicolas? And how does it compare to the lifestyle in LA and even in Toronto?
Well, no, I actually live. I live in Nassau, but I spend more time in Louisiana than anywhere else in the United States.
It's become the new Hollywood. There's always tons of movies filming there. They have a great tax rebate. There's some wonderful local actors. And now it's all set up to make movies. I mean, it's a dream.
Well, we used to make jokes about it on the set because in the 70s, people around the world saw the United States as beaches and surfers and palm trees, and now they're going to see it as swamps and alligators and
But ours was in the
style.
house. As you know, it could have been shot anywhere. I mean, it was not dependent on location.
Ma'am, and then the lady over there.
Hi, pleasure to meet you guys. My name is Sandy. I'm from Toronto for Tonight newspaper. My question for you is, you've worked on so many films over the years. Have you watched any with your son, and is there any that are, I guess you would say, is a favorite that you've watched with him?
No. If we happen to be channel surfing and a movie of mine comes on, off. Shut it off. I don't want my movies played in the house. I don't watch my movies, and as long as I can keep that going, I will. I'd rather him still call me Dad and not Nicolas Cage. He started calling me Nicolas Cage, and then I said, no, I'm Daddy.
He definitely has a will of his own, Kevin.
Yeah.
He's his own man.
Yeah. Just the other day, I was saying, okay, quickly, we've got to go to school quickly, and under his breath, he didn't know I heard him, he said, and quickly is my middle name.
Andrea Miller with Cineplex. Nicolas, you gave a fantastically gonzo, unhinged performance in Bad Lieutenant. Any plans to work with Werner Herzog again?
Well, what's interesting, we came close. We were going to do something called Fire and Rain, and nobody could figure out how to make the movie within the $30 million budget, because fire, special effects, computer graphics, and all that is going to be at least 70. And nobody could come up with the budget until Werner came along. And then Werner said, now, I don't have a very good Werner impression, but now Nicolas. We will go into the forest fire. There will be fires in this part of the year, and we will go in. Now, I did this once before, and there was a microphone, and it just melted. Will you do it? And I said, yeah. But you have a small child. You sure you want to do it? Yeah, let's go. But I never heard back. So.
Sir.
Mark Nicolas is the West Australian. Nicolas, do you find it increasingly difficult to find challenging material nowadays, particularly studio-backed material? And I guess to Joel, do you find it difficult to finance more challenging films?
I don't think it's so difficult, actually. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities to try different kinds of characters and genres. I mean, I'm about to do a movie now called frozen ground. Scott Walker is directing first time, and John Cusack, and it's the true story of the horrifying and brutal killings of the young ladies in Alaska. You would hunt them like animals. And so, to me, this is a challenge because I'm playing a real detective, and this man is a real hero, and I don't want to let him down. And I have to go meet him, and I have to portray him honestly, but at the same time give it some pizzazz so that it's interesting for audiences. But I feel pressure. I feel that this is something that it's more it's more cinema verite, more docudrama. So I haven't done anything like that. Maybe World Trade Center, but it's been a while.
Question here, and then the gentleman over there, and then we'll call it a day.
Yes, I have another question for Nicolas. Have you ever, in real life, experienced a trespassing in a lower level when a fan wanted to get into your home?
I have lived through the nightmare. I have actually been one of those people who has had a home invasion, and it was 2 in the morning. I was living in Orange County at the time. I was asleep with my wife. My 2-year-old at the time was in another room. And I opened my eyes, and there was a naked man wearing my leather jacket eating a fudge-sickle in front of my bed. I know it sounds funny, but and it is if I look back on it, but it was horrifying. And I immediately jumped out of bed. He ran into my bathroom. I don't know why he was naked, maybe because he had swum up onto the dock and crept his way into the house, and he had no clothes. And I said, "What are you doing in my house? What are you doing in my house? You get out of my house." And I did talk him to get out, and then some people came and they put him into a facility, and I didn't press charges because I realized he wasn't all there. But the folks and the cops said to me that if he had broken into anybody other's house in this neighborhood, he would have been shot. But I don't have a gun in my house, and I'm always going to try to talk you out of violence if I can. So, but it was horrible for my wife. It was a terrifying night, and I could never really stay in that house after that.
We'll take one last question. So
Hello, Juan Carlos
make
Garcia.
it good.
Juan Carlos Garcia from Mexico City. A question for both of you. Is there some new talent right now, like young actors and young directors, that you like the work that they are doing in these times?
Everybody I want to work with is dead. I missed the boat on Kubrick, and here I'll raise a glass to Cliff Robertson. I really wanted to work with him. I loved his performance in the Galaxy being in the Outer Limits. I got a chance to work with Peter Falk, which I'm very thankful for, another hero. But my great heroes, with the exception of maybe Eastwood and Nicholson, are pretty much all gone.
On that sad note, we'll call it a day. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I should have mentioned you'd never get 8mm. Can you imagine going in and pitching 8mm to a studio?
You could do it, but